This episode is sponsored by Skillshare.
Hey, what's up guys? Christian here for Kriscoart. Welcome to another episode. This time we're talking about trailers, promotional edits, anything that is fast-paced that needs to energize or interest or engage people very quickly while still communicating, certain information, certain product, a certain emotion. And really, it all boils down to three basic things, three different stages that you can sort of put your edit and your planning through in order to get a really impactful and cinematic trailer. So today I want to share a few key things that I've stumbled upon along the way or have learned when making trailers or anything that's energizing, that needs to have a hook and that really needs to engage viewers to want to see more. So hopefully you can take away some of these tricks, some of these things that I've learned and take them for your own trailer. So when it comes to creating something that is engaging, that is entertaining, and that can spark curiosity and interest, I really kind of found three main stages or things that really help me out whenever I'm attacking this type of edit. Before even opening up Premiere, before jumping into the edit or doing anything, you really need to think what the purpose of what you're doing is. What's the goal of this piece of media? Who are you trying to reach? What are you trying to communicate? Are you trying to sell something? Are you trying to promote a project? Those are just the basic first questions that can sort of give you a direction. And then based on that, you kind of need to seek out what the best tone, what the best pace, all these sort of creative decisions that actually need to be planned out in the very beginning, because it really can affect your creative choices when editing, when you don't have a solid plan or really aiming for a consistent feel that can be carried throughout the whole piece. So whether something needs more screen time, or maybe you need to linger on some things a little bit more to really effectively communicate an emotion, or if you need to be snappier and just show as many features of a product as possible, these are all things that you kind of need to be aware a little bit before starting.
Yeah, you gotta see this view. Let me spin you around.
So thinking about themes and mood and pacing and all these different elements before jumping into actually editing will really help you out and will really streamline the whole process later on. And also something I keep in mind is not just what I'm promoting, or whether it's a product or film, but who am I promoting it to? So who wants to see this film, or who wants to buy this product? Who is the potential interested viewer in what I'm putting out? Based on that, you can kind of know how to cater to them. You can then think of different things to incorporate in your trailer to really hook them in and reel them in even further. So for example, if you're trying to promote a documentary that's maybe a little bit slower paced and a slow burn, but it's very emotional and engaging in that way, maybe it's good to reflect that in the trailer and not just have a bunch of snappy cuts and try to almost make it feel like an action blockbuster trailer when really it's just a simple story that explores a human perspective. So that could be in a way misleading. You might be attracting the wrong type of viewer, and these are all things that your trailer definitely needs to sort out from the very beginning. So this can be a little bit overwhelming at first, especially when you're just trying to give a direction and a start to your edit. So I just want to reference a few ideas from a past live stream that I did about a year ago where I said this. There's a few things I think that you should keep in mind whenever you're going into an edit of this nature. With trailers, it's really easy to get carried away and just have a bunch of quick chops and, just have some really high energy pumping music. And a lot of people think that that's really all there is to it. But I think that if you have just a better understanding of the story and the piece that you're trying to say, and if you try to communicate that in the trailer, I think that makes things a lot more interesting for the viewer. You're following a certain progression. You don't want things to just happen randomly. Things need to kind of glue in together. They need to make sense with each other. So each clip, just like editing a normal short, it kind of needs to have a relationship with the previous and with the following clip. So with that in mind, I usually lay out a just selection of clips, and then from there I will pick the best ones and I will start ordering them into whatever sequence I think makes sense. You can know how to make the cuts, you can know how to do all that stuff, but if you don't have some ideas, then you're kind of lost in that regard. So those are all things that can add a lot of impact to what you're doing. Again, nothing has to be high energy all the time or quiet all the time. You can have these moments of ups and downs and these swings. You can alter the pacing, or you can alter the momentum of it, but in terms of the overall flow of it, it all needs to fit together. It can't feel like one style of editing that jumps into another style of editing that jumps into another one. You kind of want to keep things cohesive a bit, and you want to glue things together while still keeping it dynamic. You don't want things to be sort of like flat momentum wise or edit wise. You want to keep things moving and progressing, and having that kind of oscillation in your edits in terms of like momentum. That's what really drives moments to go from, you know, really quiet to like impactful, and that's another great way of retaining people's attention throughout something that you're trying to communicate in your trailer. Other things like planning things out in a sequence in order to have full control over the actions, the camera movement, the pacing of the characters in your scene, and the blocking. All these things and interlocking them well really matter when establishing a solid rhythm for your piece. So I can't really talk about the music videos just yet because they're not out, but what you're seeing is just a bunch of B-roll, a bunch of footage and BTS from the shoots that I did, which were to promote the products that essentially are used to facilitate musicians and filmmakers to capture content whenever they're developing something. So that's how I used the products that you're seeing. These are from the Rodeographer kits. If you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description. But mainly it was just to show that musicians, whether they are filming a music video or filming their own music video, they can capture content with very simple tools. And the idea is to maximize every moment for content, because there is no such thing as too much content. That's the slogan of the whole Rodeographer project, which I was so blessed and happy to be a part of. And you'll be seeing more of that coming out. And the main thing that I'm really excited for are also the music videos, because this really unlocked and allowed me to support artists with good music that I think just made for a fun project. So that will be coming out soon, but for now, let's focus on the teasers and the commercial work that was alongside the music videos. Now, the second key thing, the second stage of creating an effective trailer, once you have done all your planning, once you've set your intentions clear for who you're trying to reach and what you're trying to do, the execution is the part where you are actually creating the relationship between the building blocks that you've selected. And when selecting the building blocks, a lot of times you can have a ton of footage and you're trying to condense it into a 30-second trailer, less or more, and it can be a little bit daunting. So what I like to do is just go through all of my footage, go through all of my film, my project, whatever it is that I'm trying to chop down, and just pick the best moments. Not even thinking about it, just like anything that stands out emotionally or that's visually cool, just put them out in a timeline. From that first layer of best selects, I try to kind of like skim it down to a second layer, to a second timeline, or a second stage, where I can then really select the best moments that are not just cool to me, but that actually make sense for the trailer. This is a big part, because sometimes, especially if you directed your own thing or you're just trying to show off all the cinematography that you've done, you end up picking shots that just look cool to you, that you just want to show off personally, but that don't really fit in and that don't really promote or again achieve the main goals that you've set from the beginning in the best way. So that's something to keep in mind. Make sure that you're plugging in the best moments, not just overall, but the best moments for the trailer. Another huge thing that can glue things together is overlays. This could be light overlays, this could be sort of a way to transition from one shot to the next, or a way to highlight a title. I personally find overlays to be super useful, just even done in a subtle way, just to kind of add that subtle layer of glue that really puts it all together. And I'm keeping things a little bit open-ended because this can all change. I mean, these are just specific examples. These are specific techniques that I've put into these projects. These are some of the things that I personally go to a lot, but they might not be for you. They might not be your style, your vibe. So definitely just keep that in consideration. I'm just here to share my workflow and my process, and maybe hopefully that can help you in your own, but it doesn't have to. Just sharing some ideas here. And by the way, if you want to support the channel, if you find these videos interesting and you like the work that I do, then definitely consider supporting the channel by purchasing the Vintage Light Effects Pack. That is the first ever product digital thing that we've released ever. And I'm very excited about it because I've put hours of work into this, and it's worth it because I'm personally using that all the time in my edits. Everything that you've probably seen today has a few elements from this pack. It has been honestly the pack that I've used the most, which, you know, a little proud I made that, and hopefully you can enjoy that too. And just for the early birds that actually tune in for these videos right away, I want to put a link, a discount code for that pack. For the next 24 hours, you can use this code and you can get a discount. Now, before we move on, I want to quickly thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. They've been a long supporter of the channel, so if you like what I do, definitely show them some love. Check out Skillshare. Browse what they have to offer because it's insane the amount of value that you can get for the premium subscription that they're offering, which starts at just under $10 a month. And you get so many artists, professionals, entrepreneurs, just so many people from different sectors, different industries that share their knowledge with you and that do it in a very digestible way that is engaging and entertaining. And by the way, we've talked a lot about trailers and editing and all that stuff, and there's a lot of courses that are super great for that on Skillshare, for editing in general, but also for creating more hyped up and high energy things. So there's definitely a ton of bonus information there if you want to go check that out. And if you're quick enough, the first 500 people that use the link in the description will get the first 2 months completely free. So definitely check out Skillshare. I'm pretty sure you're going to find it interesting. You're going to love what they have on there. Definitely worth a look. So use my link in the description to check them out and sign up for their premium membership. Alright guys, now the last stage that I want to talk about, which is still kind of part of the execution, but to me it is something so big and it just feels like a whole separate part of the edit, and that is sound design. This stage is the third and final stage that I think is what can really elevate your trailers to be more impactful. You know, there's other things, of course, that we didn't mention, like having good color grade, having all the filmmaking basics that you would want in any project. Of course, you should put that effort in, but when it comes to trailers specifically, sound design is a whole different beast, and it's very different in nature of what you can do in the soundscape of a trailer versus you know, one of a scene in a short film or a documentary. So it can be a lot of fun. It can also be very intricate. So I'm going to reference back to that live stream where I broke that down, and hopefully you'll find some useful tips about sound and creating the sound design for your trailers.
Ooh, I like this.
Whenever you're going into sound designing, I think it's nice to layer it and to think of it in different layers. So the first layer could be, okay, I want to add any sound that I see in the scene. So that last part could be an example. You know, the moving of the jacket could be, okay, that's a sound effect that I see and I want to hear. So that you can move through your timeline and do all those moments first, and then you can go back. And once you have the cuts made and all that, you can think of, okay, well, what sounds can really sell that cut or that transition or whatever the case may be. So that's something that you can think of it in terms of, you know, like you do multiple run-throughs of your timeline, and little by little you just keep adding these different sonic ideas that you can come up with. There's this thing right here, which is I think is like some Foley. Yeah, some like cloth Foley sound effects. And another thing that I wanted to do with this edit is to not have any dead moments. So even if there's no, I mean, you have music playing throughout, but I didn't want it to feel like it was just, we're looking into a completely silent room or a silent moment. So everything is always going to have some kind of a layer of sound to it. So over here, we start creeping in a ambient sound. This is like a nature type of ambience, and it's very subtle. It's just as strong as like a room tone. So it's just something to fill up, again, the underbed of the scene that we're cutting into. But you can see that it doesn't start just with the scene starting right here. It actually fades up just a moment before that. So we have this swell up, and you might not even hear it in the final piece, but these are all things that when put together can kind of glue things really well together and mesh things up. So we're in slow-mo. We have this very deep kind of riser that's starting to build up, and once it reaches its peak, as I mentioned before, we speed ramp up in the clip, and that matches up with the sound of it peaking, and then that makes us cut into the wheel scene. Now in this wheel scene, we have some of the sounds that I recorded on that day. Here we see that the tire is kicking up some dust, and I just emphasize that with a little bit of rubble, like some sand pebbles that are just shooting out. And another thing that I didn't do here that you can do to get fancier is you can play with the panning of the sound so that it starts from the left side, but as it's getting kicked up, you can hear it more from the right side. Here there's a bit of a sound here. It's another whoosh that kind of helps, I forgot to mention, it helps glue in this peak so it doesn't go to completely silent, but it has a little bit of a tail end of another whoosh sound effect. We have the car sounds here. We have, I don't know if you guys could hear that. Let me turn up the volume over here. It seems to have two buildups, but that's because it has its first buildup and it stays kind of steady. And then as you can see, I just animated, I just keyframed the volume to go up. It matches that initial spin of the tire just starting to spin. There's another whoosh sound effect layered on top of that to motivate the pan again. And now we have the helicopter sound coming in. Okay, so there's a few things happening here. We have the helicopter being introduced a little bit before. As the car is approaching, we start to hear the helicopter approaching, almost as if the car is initiating that. Then we go to the cut, and now we really hear it getting louder as it supposedly is, you know, in the scene, it's like reaching over our subjects' heads. There's another trick that I'll tell you guys that I think you'll find useful is once we're underwater, if you try to like imagine how things would sound underwater, it would sound pretty muffled, kind of like that. So that's kind of where you can use the treble effect in Premiere. And you can see here, I've added keyframes to take treble out, so that once we enter the water, everything quickly becomes muffled. And now we're rising above water, and we're using that, both the moment in the song and the treble going back up, to kind of motivate our exit from that scene and into our other scene. Some of the sound effects that overlap in both scenes are actually the same sound, but that like they take on a different meaning, I guess. The way you absorb them is going to be different because of what you're seeing. So the same sound, you could hear the first part of the same sound, it makes sense that it's bubbles because you're looking at bubbles. But then because the sound is so vague, once we move to the chess pieces, it's still the same tail end of that sound that we've introduced. But now that we're looking at chess pieces, you're thinking that those chess pieces are making that sound.
All right, guys, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I just wanted to really put this out there because most of the work that I've been doing in the past months has been just commercial work, trailers, all this really kind of quick, high energy stuff. And there's just some things that I just want to reshare with you. And hopefully you found some of this interesting. If you did, give it a like, share this video with a friend that might need some trailer editing knowledge. And definitely stay tuned for what's coming up, the music videos, all the breakdowns for that stuff. I am genuinely so excited. I can't wait to get this out to you guys. So definitely subscribe for that. Don't miss out. Consider supporting the channel. Buy the pack. And I will see you in the next... and follow me on Instagram. I should say that, right? I haven't been posting much, but when I do, I try to post cool stuff. So follow me there. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Kriscoart for Kriscoart, and I'll see you next time.